This concept of a nonprofit looking outside themselves and being able to outsource all or some of the functions of the organization might be a novel idea, right? Again, if you're put yourself back to being a executive director and the only employee of an organization. So I'm curious, obviously we met and I was really impressed by you as a person and your track record and your know-how. And I felt that there was a real connection here and an opportunity to share out what you were doing. Of course, there are other, consultancies, let's call it for nonprofits out there.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious from your perspective, though, if this is a new concept for a nonprofit, what are some of the questions that they should be asking you or anyone that they might be chatting with to try to identify, can this organization really help us? Or are they actually going to be able to follow through?
Yeah, that's a great question because part of what just tugs at my heart is I've seen some organizations really taken advantage of, and it just broke my heart. I mean, we watched one organization get run into the ground by an association management firm, left them with over $100,000 debt. They did not seem to be a team player. They did not seem to kind of be really integrally aligned with the organization, and it broke my heart. So I think that your question is a really, really good one. Absolutely. Everybody needs to go in with a strategy, and I think people, when you are feeling burnout, exhausted, it's easy for a consultant to say things and you to kind of be like, that's exciting. And like, yeah, let's do it. But we need to take the time to kind of, to your point, don't rush it. Have the meetings. It's just like an interview. It's like dating. Like you want to have a series of meetings. You want to have a series of conversations to give yourself time to reflect and think about what they're saying and identify what you really need. I think sometimes we know what we need, but we haven't taken that strategic time to document it, think about it. And so when you go in not knowing what you really need, you're not setting yourself up for the maximum success. I think asking questions about the clarity of what the consultant can deliver or won't deliver. There are certain things that, we try to be very clear about. We can't promise the sun, the moon, and the stars. And we're realistic, like sponsorship is one, right? I will use that as an example that clients want to know, how much will you raise for us? There's so many variables and I can't promise a dollar. The landscape is constantly changing and the way it goes is constantly changing, but we try to set up parameters where they have no surprises. That's another thing. I would encourage organizations to make sure that if you're working with a consultant, a package price or setting financial thresholds that they will not exceed is incredibly important. I have watched some
That I totally agree with.
Have you seen that?
Well, just in with our own company, right? Yeah. Getting the bill at the end of the month and going, how the hell did you get to this price?
Yeah, I've
And
seen a
or
lot of organizations where they get those extra invoices and it's crippling. So I think, and then they got to start to forego other services or other staff or salaries to
Mhm.
be able to keep the organization afloat. So really like thinking about financially, what can you afford? There's a lot of kind of getting your own ducks in a row first. I like to try to help our clients or potential clients walk through some of that. I like to help them, be able to ask the right questions because we want to be a good partner. We're not trying to put anybody out of business. Our goal is to help organizations grow. But I will say you've got to do your due diligence because I've also watched one nonprofit. They worked with a professional event planning company that tripled their gross profit and cut the net to the organization in half over when the organization was doing it all themselves. And nobody knew how to figure out why the math wasn't mathing to their advantage. So definitely like look at your resources, definitely ask tough questions. Also, just give yourself permission to ask questions. I think sometimes we hold ourselves back and don't really consider it an interview, but it is. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you, and the best partners are going to really find that magical alignment where everybody wins. So you want to keep that in mind.